right, guys, just waiting for people to tune in, and then I'm gonna say, okay, hold on, let me add this to the chat. Live on YouTube. Excuse the question mark there, guys. Hold on. Okay. All right, guys, I'm just going live right now to tell you in 2 minutes we will be live on YouTube. Hopefully you can hear me. I think the speaker can hear me too, so that's kind of funny. But make sure, go on YouTube right now, okay? Make sure you guys go check it out. We have a great show lined up for you. So go, link is in my bio. Go tune into YouTube right now, okay? We're starting in 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Make sure you guys go to my YouTube, okay? Some of you are staying on the stream. I don't know what you're doing here. Those of you staying on the stream, go get on my YouTube right now, okay? Link is in my bio. The YouTube name is Patriot Dow, okay? Go check in. We got 6 people so far. So 10 of you, 9 of you, okay? Keep join in, guys. It's going to be a great show. We've got great things coming for you. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing here either, okay? Go to my YouTube channel right now. Go ahead. 1 minute, 45 seconds left. Just here to let you guys know. 6 viewers so far. Make sure you guys get in the stream. Okay? New person. Go. Join my YouTube stream right now. We got 9 people in so far. We're almost ready to start. What's really funny is that I think the freaking stream can hear me. By the way, stream, if you guys can hear me talking, that's funny. But yeah, make sure you guys go check in the stream right now. Bye, guys. Okay, guys, and we are live. Holy crap, that just blew out my ears, and you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But all right, good evening, guys, and welcome to the pilot episode of The Vince Dow Show. I am yours truly. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Hopefully this does well, because I would really like to make this show into a weekly thing. But in order to do that, we need your support. So be sure to press like on this video, on the stream. Tune in, keep staying in, watch, listen, share. You know the deal. All of that. But thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry about cutting off the music early on, but it was actually playing from the speaker and I had to put in these earbuds. But yeah, I open with this. Currently, as we speak, America is facing one of the worst recessions in our history. Fortune reports that due to this crisis, America has lost 26.5 million jobs, and the real unemployment rate went past 20% this week. Across this country, millions of people struggle to put food on the table as a result of government-imposed lockdowns. Democrats in Washington and the media alike care about none of them. Now, I know things are moving fast in today's times, but if you'll remember, they obstructed the first coronavirus relief bill for almost a week just to get funding for the Kennedy Center and other likewise useless leftist agenda marks. Hold American workers and business owners hostage to get funding for dumb leftist stuff? Yeah, nice one, Democrats. You're people of fantastic moral character. The business loan program that bill created ran out of money late last week, demanding immediate refilling, considering the fact that, hey, a lot of businesses are actually on the edge of bankruptcy, in case you didn't realize that. Unfortunately, instead of simply just agreeing to immediately refill the fund, which was completely possible, Democrats once again held it hostage for a full week in order to try to work in more of their left-wing agenda, like mail-in voting, which Pelosi promised she will force into the next stimulus bill. Now, say what you will about mail-in voting, but this is an obvious political debate that does not belong anywhere near a bipartisan effort to help American families in the here and now. Democrats just know that they don't have the votes to do it unless it's jammed into a bill to actually help American workers. Disgusting. Here's a great clip from Dan Crenshaw. And I know not everyone loves Dan Crenshaw, but here's a great clip that I think perfectly sums up what went down in Washington this week. So I'm going to share it right now. And forgive me for a minute, because this takes a little while. Can you guys hear it? Forgive me for a moment. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I suck at this screen sharing thing, but just give me a moment. But this clip, I think, perfectly sums up just how bad things are in Washington right now. Share audio. There we go. Okay. We are golden.
Where we should have been a week ago when the Treasury warned us that the small business program needed refunding. It's a program we already authorized. It's a program that Americans need desperately to keep their payrolls whole during this crisis. But in predictable fashion, it was delayed. My colleagues will claim victory for this delay, claiming wins for additional funding, but they know that this vote today could have easily been agreed to last week. We are asking our grocers to stock our shelves, truckers to drive, and nurses and doctors to risk their lives, but Congress can't even bother to vote to help small businesses in time. In fact, many want to vote from home or by proxy. If you think that's leadership, then I would encourage you to rethink what it means to be a representative. Leadership is courage to lead from the front. It is steadfast judgment free from cynical opportunism. Leadership means acting worthy of the people we represent. If we are to survive this historic crisis, we might collectively stiffen our spines and demonstrate to the American people what that looks
like. Okay, excuse me there. And the elites in our country wonder why America has totally lost faith in the establishment. Yeah. Now imagine if Republicans had tried to hold up that bill for a tax cut, let's say, for instance, which you can actually make a strong case would actually stimulate the economy, unlike mail-in voting and the Kennedy Center. Democrats and their puppets in the media would be going crazy about how we're holding workers hostage. But of course, when Democrats do this, deafening radio silence from the Chinese news network at CNN and all the rest. Now, you think that at the very least, if Democrats are going to delay aid for struggling American workers, the so-called party of working families would at least be understanding when working people who are struggling to get by began to protest in anger because they're not actually allowed to go to work and therefore are not able to financially support themselves. You'd think they'd address the grievances of working people, but no. Despite all the campaign talk about 70% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, Democrats and their media establishment have completely ridiculed all anti-lockdown protesters and anyone who is mad about the fact that they're unable to financially survive due to government lockdown policy. In fact, they've even gone as far as to calling working people racist for protesting lockdowns. I'm looking at you, Joy Reade of MSDNC. They've demagogued anyone who asks legitimate questions like, are these lockdowns actually an effective response? They've said that anyone who simply questions whether or not we're correctly balancing all of this with the economy as not caring about human lives. You literally just want people to die. That's false, but it doesn't matter to them. And if you needed proof that the left literally doesn't want anyone to come back to work, check out this bizarre rant from AOC. It's a weird socialist rant calling for uprising or something, but suggesting that Americans actually should not go back to work and instead should go and protest for some reason that I don't quite understand why. Here we go.
A lot that we could be doing right now, but ultimately I think when we talk about this idea of reopening society, only in America Does the president, when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that. We're not going back to working 70-hour weeks just so that we could put food on the table and not even feel any sort of semblance of security in our lives.
A socialist worker strike. That's exactly what we need right now. You really hit it on the head, AOC. Spoken like a true privileged person who is actually still gainfully employed. Now, to add insult to injury, Democrats lambast people who actually want to do good for our country as xenophobic and racist. This week, Trump announced an executive order that would temporarily ban immigration into the United States. The details of this ban are still being worked out, but he has full authority to ban immigration as he sees fit. That's the law. And right now seems like a pretty justified time to ban immigration. After all, our economy is in a dismal state. And the last thing jobless Americans need coming out of a recession is for their potential jobs to be going to foreign nationals and for those foreign nationals to be killing their wages. This seems like common sense, right? We want to protect the native workforce first. So when jobs are hard to find, we want to make sure they actually go to native workers before they go to foreign nationals. Obviously, flooding a tough job market with a bunch of new workers will not only kill wages, but also will just straight up make it harder to find a job. And we don't need that. And opinion polls agree. Okay, the majority of Americans actually support policy like this. But protecting workers doesn't matter to Democrats. Only, wait for it, being woke. They responded to Trump's move in bizarre fashion, calling this move xenophobic and racist and going on about some long tangents about the Statue of Liberty and how we have an moral obligation to let in the immigrants that built our country. Yeah, immigrants built our country. Yeah, nobody is denying that. But we have an obvious obligation to take care of the needs of our citizens first. And it's clear that right now they need the jobs. But nope, this temporary immigration ban has sent the left into a frenzy. Former Democrat presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke came out of his hole, wherever he's been hiding all this time, to tweet out profanity, decrying this immigration ban as like bigoted or something like that. Let me pull it up right now. Here we go. All right, who the F do you think is working on the farms and the feedlots and the processing plants at a time when we are struggling to feed ourselves? Yeah, we are struggling to feed ourselves. Who is picking, preparing, serving the food we eat and cleaning up afterwards? Okay, well, nice language there, Beto. That's real rich. But yeah, first of all, immigrants are not just meant to do manual labor. Okay, that's actually kind of racist. And secondly, what exactly makes you think that Americans won't take manual labor jobs? They do it all the time. And they should definitely get the first crack at them when we open up. This seems like common sense. This doesn't seem like radical policy. But obviously, to be of that viewpoint, you have to actually care about the American people first before you care about the rest of the world. Democrats don't. Democrats can claim to be on the side of working families, but their agenda is clear: to destroy the working class every chance they get in the name of virtue signaling. Feeling good is greater than doing good. That's the agenda of the DNC. It might as well be their motto. Hey, leaving everyone inside forever in their homes to starve might be a terrible thing that totally wasn't worth it, but at least it made us feel like the government actually did something to save lives from coronavirus. Hey, letting foreigners take new jobs when we might actually need them, that might be a terrible idea, but at least it made us feel woke. There's the mentality of a Democrat. Our actual quality of lives be damned. Okay, and if you needed any more proof that these people legitimately just don't care about our country, look at their response to China in all of this. U.S. intelligence has found that China covered up evidence of this virus while it spread around the world, destroyed evidence and research on it, silenced whistleblowers that tried to help out the world, and now we even believe lied about where it first came from, as we now believe this thing actually came from a lab. It's simple. China lied, people died. But if you say that, if you try to counter Chinese propaganda that the virus came from America by stating facts, hey, actually it's a Chinese virus, you're a racist. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization, ran by Tedros, the genocidal maniac, who has covered up for pandemics for multiple authoritarian governments. Oh yeah, that's the World Health Organization. That's the be all and end all of international diplomacy, and a shining example from the globalist left as to why, hey, actually, the UN is a good thing. Yeah, that World Health Organization. That World Health Organization towed the party line for the Chinese Communist Party, defended their atrocious and evil response, called us xenophobic for banning travel, and spread fake statistics telling us that the virus wasn't transmissible. By the way, ran by a puppet of the Chinese government in Tedros the Murderer. Yeah. Now you might be saying that, hey, this organization sounds pretty evil, and it's a total propaganda wing for China. So like, why do we fund it? No! You have to be for international diplomacy. Yeah. Like China, you really think China gives a damn about us? Like we should be working with China. We need to cooperate with them. They're a deceitful, lying government that hates our guts and wants to destroy our country. Why does the left keep attacking us for attacking China? Maybe because, hey, they feel the same way. But that doesn't matter. Damn them. Mainstream media might be shills for the Chinese Communist Party, but I'm not. While the left keeps spreading moralistic nonsense, President Trump is passing badass policy to put America and her people first. And I'm all here for it, and so is my first guest. Hopefully we can get this in smoothly. Okay, boom, Chrome tab, new tab. All right. Easy, and we are in. All right, sorry for that. I keep forgetting I have to press the share audio button every single time. Very annoying. I will get the audio for you guys right now.
I mean, now they don't care about you either. Okay, the 22.
Adi Banti is my friend. Unfortunately, I don't understand why this man is my friend, but okay, he joins us here today. So Adi, I mean, what is wrong with the Democrats at this point? They've delayed stimulus bills for working people. They've totally ridiculed working people for saying, hey, we want to go back to work, or you should help us out. And they've totally ridiculed Trump for trying to protect the native workforce through his immigration ban. I mean, what is wrong with them? Do they care at all about anyone except their elites?
Well, guys, let's talk about the truth here. And the truth is that the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic National Convention, and frankly, any Democrat in office, they don't care about you. They don't give a crap about you. You could be on the streets begging for food and water because you lost your job. You don't have any money. They're delaying these stupid stimulus bills. I mean, now they don't care about you either. Okay, the 22 million of you that lost your job due to this, they don't care about you. Now we've seen it twice. They're delaying these important stimulus packages. I mean, they're refusing to put money in small businesses' hands, but they're willing to give $25 million to the Kennedy Center, which ended up firing all of its employees. I mean, they don't care about you, the working class. They only care about their donors and their elites, and that's a fact.
And there's nothing quite like, and let's be honest, and I'm not saying that Fox News isn't really an arm of the Republican Party, but the mainstream media is the arm of the Democratic Party. There's nothing quite like watching these news anchors who still get to work and are still making six-figure salaries ridicule people for saying, well, how dare you want to go get back to work while they sit on all this cash and are still able to work? I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is sort of a problem of the elites just not being in touch with the American people?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. Democrat elites, and I do consider big name media anchors Democrat elites. Don Lemon is, in fact, a Democrat elite. So is Anderson Cooper, because people like them are who they serve. The Democrats like to position themselves as the party of the working class, as the party of the people, as the party of the American people. But they're doing quite the opposite. So they're really out of touch because they haven't served us. Why do we keep voting for them? They haven't served us. They serve the elites, and that's exactly why they don't care about you. And the media is part of that same group.
Yeah, and I mean, just take a look at this immigration ban. I don't understand the left's response to it at all, because it's pretty common sense. Hey, coming out of recession, you want to try to protect the native workforce and make sure they find jobs before we give jobs to foreign nationals. But I guess that answer sort of brings up the question. Do they care about the native working force, or do they care about foreign nationals or the interests of big businesses that want cheap labor? I mean, who exactly is their loyalty to here?
Well, yeah. So at that point, I think we could even answer this question before coronavirus and before the immigration ban. The Democrats have always been for open borders, bringing in cheap labor, and we need that to an extent. But they want to replace the entire workforce. And now with the immigration ban, it's their worst nightmare, right? It's the worst nightmare. Their donors are going to be losing money because they might have to pay the Americans a couple cents more. And now you can see the true outrage. Oh, the immigrants, we care so much about them. They don't care about the immigrants or the native workers. They only care about their donors. So yeah, they really don't care about our native workforce. We have 22 million people who are going to need a job as soon as this is over. I say we cut it off for a year, cut it off for a year and a half, however long Trump sees fit and his people see fit. And let's let our country recover first, and then we can help others.
And what is it with the Democrats and China and all of this? First, they called it racist for trying to pin the blame on this, pin the blame on China, which it is 100% China's fault. I mean, they covered this up. They didn't tell the world about it. And when Trump announced that he'd be defunding the World Health Organization, I mean, they went crazy basically saying that it's like, this is terrible. We need to work together. We need to have an international coalition. It's not actually run by China. I mean, what is it with the Democrats and China? Why are they? Because they always talk about Russia, say, the Republicans work for Russia. Yet they're so defensive of the Communist People's Republic of China when they are our true foreign adversaries in the world.
Yeah, no. So the Democrats really don't understand the fact that, Russia really isn't that big of a deal anymore. No one cares about Russia. China is the number one enemy. China is the number one enemy. But the problem is the big corporations and the interests and the donors of the Democrats, they take money from Chinese businesses. They're invested in by Chinese businessmen. The last thing the Democratic Party really wants is for China to mess up, for China to be held responsible for their actions. And then you were talking about the WHO. The WHO is literally putting out Chinese propaganda that human-to-human transmission is not possible. These people obviously work for the Chinese. We pulled out our money. Chinese donated another $30 million. They were the second biggest contributors, and the Democrats have always been globalists. So this comes as no surprise.
Right. Serve other countries, foreign workers, multinational corporations, put all of that before the American worker and the American people, and then talk about how so many Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Last question here. Did you see AOC's little rant about worker strikes? I mean, just how out of touch is that to call for a socialist worker strike uprising when people actually need and want to go back to work?
I saw that entire thing and I read it and I watched it, whatever. She is such a brat. I mean, come on. This woman was part of the working class up until the election. I mean, she of all people should understand that they need a job. I remember watching an interview of her saying, I was hungry. I had no money. Well, that's 22 million people right now, Alexandria. Okay. I mean, and she's the one who just voted for a $25 million pay raise in Congress. She gets to stay at home, only go in on voting days, and she gets more money than most Americans for doing absolutely nothing. And I think she should have an extra pay deduction for being an absolute freaking moron.
Totally out of touch with the American people. Adi Bonti, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Dow. Yep, always fun.
All right. Hey, but listen, you could be watching. It's 5:58, so it's about to be Don Lemon's show right now, okay? You could be watching Anderson Cooper or Don Lemon on the Chinese news network, but you're here. Aren't you glad about that? And just for that, speaking of the media, virtually all major updates that we've learned about coronavirus statistics this week, coming to you with the news, okay? We're responsible journalists too, totally smash their narrative that we need to continue our Chinese-style lockdown forever. Firstly, antibody testing Chicago, LA, and New York found that the infection rate was actually exponentially higher than what we previously thought, showing that it might be as much as 20. Let me change the banner real quick here. Is it time to reopen America? There we go. All right, there we go. Showing that the infection rate might actually be as much as 20 to 80 times higher than what we previously thought. So what does this tell us? Well, it puts the death rate significantly lower than what we previously believed. If this data holds, the actual death rate from coronavirus is between 0.1 to 0.6%. Now, every death is tragic. Certainly not denying that. But that's a way lower death rate than what we thought. Okay, 0.1%, that's around where the actual flu is. We don't shut down the economy every season for the flu. Assuming this data is reliable, but I was told by the left that I'm like this war criminal if I don't trust science, this data would suggest that this lockdown was totally unnecessary. And that it's more than certainly time to get back to work, at least the low-risk people, get them back to work. But of course, both because they want to sensationalize and both because they want to destroy our economy, the news media has reported this science very little. Hey, it's not doomsday enough for them. It's actually suggests that maybe we should reopen the economy. Not going to happen. Also this week, our U.S. scientists, not some wacky communist Chinese scientists, our U.S. scientists found that heat and humidity are highly effective at killing the virus. That's also suggesting that with May right around the corner and summer on the horizon, the reopening of the U.S. economy should be imminent. But of course, again, the media reported this very little. Actually seemed quite skeptical of the science all of a sudden and tried to turn this into some crap about Trump instead of, actually reporting the science like they claim they do. We almost might remember that also the media ridiculed Trump for suggesting that it was possible that heat and humidity could kill the virus. Well, don't they look ridiculous now, huh? Our scientists also believe that we are now past the top of the curve. We are now flattening the curve, as we always talk about. Now, Sweden, who didn't lock down their country, may reach herd immunity in the course of a few weeks. Maybe we could learn something from the don't wreck your economy model. But of course, the downer news media doesn't want to report any of this, okay? They want to sensationalize, even if it wrecks our country. They want to keep telling you that things are totally out of control, but reality paints a much different picture. Today, Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia appears to be following that Swedish model, reopening much of the economy today. Of course, against much of what we know so far. Democrats are calling him this murderous psychopath who doesn't care about people's well-beings. Now, we just did a long opening segment about how this lockdown is wrecking the economy and actually wrecking people's well-beings. We just talked about how the real death rate for this virus seems to be much lower than we thought. But again, if you go against the grain, if you oppose locking down the economy forever, you're a murderer, bad dude person. Could Kemp's decision be premature? Possibly it could. But what exactly do Democrats want politicians to do regarding these lockdowns? Because the reality is, once you reopen the economy, there's going to be a rise in infections no matter what. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be a rise in infections. The only way we could stop that is with a vaccine. And that's like 2 years away. So what exactly are politicians waiting for? Like how? When? Why? Democrat governors across this country have no answer to that question whatsoever. They have no end game for these lockdowns in sight, no target goal. It's just indefinite lockdown. And their decision to reopen will be just as arbitrary and pulled out of their rear end as Kemp's was, and it will also cause more infections. But if they really think we can wait for a vaccine before going back, if that's like 2 years, then they're definitionally insane. Okay, we're not going to just sit around and wait for a vaccine. That's not happening. So what exactly are we waiting for? Now, if you think Kemp opened too soon, when do you think we should be opening? I mean, I'd expect that answer to just be pulled as much pulled out of your rear end, totally made up and arbitrary and subjective as you claim Kemp's to be. What we do know is that the countries that have reopened their economies, Sweden, South Korea, Singapore, in short time have yet to face these mass deaths and just a total collapse of their system. Well, in our exclusive interview, we actually talked to a Georgia resident to get her thoughts on Kemp's decision to reopen the economy. That's our exclusive interview for tonight. It was a great talk, and let me pull it up right now.
Here we go. Here we go, guys. Boom. And so she's on the front lines, unlike most of the people in the media. So day one, reopening the state. I mean, how's it been going so far? How's your day one been going so far? What are your thoughts on the governor's decision to reopen this early? And my final question is, what do you think people are sort of getting wrong about this whole Georgia reopening situation?
Well, I'm honestly a big fan of Governor Kemp. He's one of the best governors that we've ever had in my lifetime. I think it was very wise of him to reopen the state. I think the cure that we've all been trying to enforce for coronavirus has been more of a damage to our economy and to our country as a whole than the actual virus itself. And I love that our governor really waited as long as he could. He held out before closing down the state. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to keep it the responsibility of cities and towns who were hit hardest by coronavirus, instead of making a statewide mandate and enforcing that statewide, especially on towns who weren't really hit by the virus, and allowing business to continue as normal. And now he's opening it up again at the point that he said he would. You know, when all these governors shut down their states countrywide, there was a clause in these shelter-in-place laws that basically said, listen, once our case numbers get below a certain level, we're going to reopen the state. Georgia is currently at that level. We're below 1% population in case numbers. And so the governor is doing what he said he would. And I think it's really awesome for the state. I think it's going to work really well. I think if we'd taken the route of least action, I think, like really letting the cities and towns make those decisions for themselves from the start, I think our economy would have been less hard hit. And I think everyone's criticisms of Governor Kemp are really a result of the mainstream media really fear-mongering a lot of this hype about coronavirus. I think he's really doing the best he could. President Trump actually made some remarks about how he thought it might be too early for Georgia to reopen, but he also said Governor Kemp is a very capable man, which is absolutely true. And I think as time goes on, we're going to really see how this was the best idea. And I'm really, really proud of our state for making the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this. The big story a few weeks ago was actually out of your state. The unemployment office in Georgia was so backlogged that it was taking people like 2-3 days to get unemployment benefits. I mean, it was getting hit that hard. Yeah. And I think for the media to just like totally ignore that and say, well, you know what, it's only about the virus. There's a lot more going on here than just the virus, and that's not us being like utilitarian about it. I mean, there are legitimate costs to these shutdowns. Now, I want to ask you some other questions. Like, for instance, something we've been hearing is that, well, you know, if you reopen and everyone gets the virus, that's going to make the healthcare system totally collapse. But I mean, we've looked at places like Sweden and South Korea where they've done calculated reopenings where people basically go about their lives. No collapse yet. Their cases are actually a lot better than what's going on in the United States. And, you know, the healthcare system in the United States is actually collapsing because of the end in re-elective surgery. So what do you think? What do you say to the people who say like, well, you know what, everything's going to blow up in our face if we reopen the country?
Well, I don't think if we institute proper healthcare guidelines and really keep enforcing like, hey, you guys need to be wearing masks, you need to be continuing to social distance even when the state reopens. Singapore was a great example of this. Back in their first spike of cases, they really instituted that people need to be staying this certain distance apart. Personally, I think the Singaporean government is a little too extreme in the way they enforced it, but their guidelines where they said, hey, put a red X on tables where people shouldn't sit because they'll be too close to other people, etc. Everyone's wearing masks, you know, you had to get a test, etc., etc. But they allowed the economy and businesses to stay open and functioning, to allow the economy to continue effectively breathing, you know, instead of completely shutting everything down, especially for the middle and lower classes that they literally cannot just take several weeks off from work. In fact, most of us have to go out there in order to survive, ironically. So you can sit here and complain and say the healthcare system's going to collapse, but you know, it's going to be the streets that are overrun with homeless people who lost their jobs. That's a lot more of a pressing issue than the healthcare system at this point.
Yeah, and we're doing a segment later in the show that actually shows that the healthcare system is more likely to collapse under a shutdown than it is just going freely. But last question here. I mean, what is the popular sentiment in Georgia about this? I mean, are people sort of on board with this? Are people sort of skeptical? Like, what from your position, what do you think most people are thinking about this?
Well, I love my state, and the people here are very down to earth in general. And we're turning a little bit into a purple state, but for the most part, I mean, we elected Governor Kemp because we knew he was the man for the job. He's got that Georgian spirit where we get out there and we go do what we said we were going to do. And we believe in not only making sure everybody is safe and healthy, but also that everyone is succeeding and thriving, not only health-wise, but also financially, you know, in your business, in your job. We want to make sure everybody's not only healthy, but also secure. And I think we're all really proud of our governor. And I was listening to Rush Limbaugh earlier today, and he opens up the show with "God bless Governor Kemp," and I could not agree more with that statement.
Yeah, if it's one thing that's true in life, the mainstream media does not understand regular Americans at all. Devin Snyder, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay. Nice girl. Now, I'm sure that cases will increase, okay? Not saying they won't, but I have the feeling that Georgia is going to be just fine. Let me tell you that, okay? And one reason for that, because their healthcare system won't collapse. One of the arguments we've heard for this indefinite shutdown is that if we open and let everyone just catch the virus, the hospitals will be overwhelmed with patients, right? And the healthcare system will collapse. On the surface level, that does make sense. And I that's what I initially thought too. But once again, reality is knocking and reality disagrees. In fact, the shutdown itself is causing our healthcare system to collapse. Why? Well, during the shutdown, hospitals have been ordered to put all elective procedures on hold, theoretically, to leave room open for coronavirus patients. Only problem is, elective procedures are where hospitals get most of their money. And because the government is subsidizing most of the coronavirus treatment that is taking place, well, you know how Medicare works. Due to this shutdown, it's reported that 1 in 4 rural hospitals in America are at risk of closing their doors. That'll end your whole healthcare system argument real quick. It's obvious. If you really want to keep the hospitals open, you have to keep the economy open. The fiscal effects of the economic shutdown are suffocating our healthcare system. Now, who's the one who doesn't care about human life? Furthermore, it's being reported that global shutdowns around the world could cause a global food shortage, maybe even famine. Not to mention that quarantine is causing a drastic increase in drug overdoses and suicides. Need I go further? It's not just possible, but highly likely that our cure might just be a little bit worse than the virus itself. But yeah, feel free to go on about how it's you that cares about human life, and me, because I'm thinking about reopening the country. I'm evil. It's me that's evil. That's real rich. Well, we've had a lot of talk about the virus on this show, but this is a political show still. Let me change this banner real quick. I hate that I have to do this manually. I really should hire someone to do it for me. Okay. We've had a lot of political talk on this show, but it is still a political show. And we have an election coming up. In case you guys have forgotten, we actually have an election coming up this November. It's hard to think about that, right? But obviously, a big issue in a time like this is who's the better president to lead us through a crisis time like this? Well, if you'll remember, about a month ago, Joe Biden swore that it was him. He is the guy. That's what he claimed. He is the guy that's going to lead America. He has the leadership and the political experience to get America through a crisis. Unlike Trump, of course. In fact, he was going to do alternate daily coronavirus press briefings, contrary to what Trump was doing. He was going to do his own press briefings that were going to prove just how much of a leader he was. He's a real leader, right? Well, after like 2 or 3 of them, like literally 2 or 3, his campaign scrapped the idea. because Biden is a gaffing disaster that would make all of America freak out if he was president. Okay, if we had a crisis and Joe Biden was president, I think the majority of America would be like, we're all going to die. It's it. End times. Epic fail there, Biden campaign. Now we're at the point where I have to ask the question, though. Like, where's Joe Biden? I mean, where's Joe? I know we have a lot going on and we're not really thinking about him, but where is Joe? I mean, seriously, where is he? This guy has been making like 2 to 3 short TV appearances a week, and that's it. He's gone. He's absentee. He's M.I.A, missing in action from America in this time of crisis. Not a good look, Joe. Not a good look. Meanwhile, a real leader in President Trump is holding daily press briefings that are like 1 to 3 hours long, and Biden, well, can't even finish a sentence, much less a 10-minute interview without totally screwing up. How are you going to never appear on TV because you will gaffe, so no, don't put him on TV, and then claim that you are the one with the real leadership for the country? But, you know, of course, Democrats will tirelessly defend this guy, even so far as to totally upend their own principles to stand up for Uncle Joe. As we reported a while back, Joe Biden is being faced with some sexual assault allegations from Tara Reade, someone who worked on his campaign in 1993. And in total opposition to their believe all woman crap from the Kavanaugh hearings, Dems have suddenly said that they believe in justice and innocent until proven guilty. Isn't that ironic, right? Suddenly when their candidate is the one getting accused and it's innocent until proven guilty, great one. Joe Biden's campaign is this utter and complete disaster. And we spoke about this and more with my next guest. Here we go. Okay, Caleb Lawson is a Trump-supporting activist. He's done some cool things like standing on the side with MAGA flags and all that. And he joins us here today. So, Caleb, Joe Biden, where is he? Because he's the leader who said that, oh, well, you know what? Trump is not the guy to lead us through a crisis like this. It's me. And yet he's been on TV. He's going on TV like 3 times a week for 10 minutes. It's still a disaster every time. I mean, what do you think of the stable genius? What do you think of this amazing, true politician leader we have in Joe Biden?
Well, I think it's absolutely crazy that creepy, sleepy quid pro Joe actually thinks that he's the leader we need right now. He's literally lost his mind. He's old. I mean, if he becomes president, which is not even going to happen, not even a chance, it's not even going to be him leading. It's going to be his administration. It's going to be his VP because he's lost his mind. He doesn't know his wife from his sister. He doesn't know where he is half the time. He forgets where what he's running for, president, Senate. He doesn't even know. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. And he's absolutely not the leader that we need right now. Like you said, every time he has an interview, every time he's on the TV, anytime he's on the news, whatever it is, he just is like gaffing Joe. He's always making these gaffes, and not even just simple slip-ups, because everyone makes those. He makes these horrible mistakes, and it's hilarious to think that he actually believes that he's an actual leader, that he actually has a chance to win, and that he actually thinks that he's what America needs or wants. And frankly, I don't think he is what America wants. Even Bernie bros see it. 15% of Bernie supporters, if Joe Biden becomes the nominee, 15% of Bernie supporters are going to vote for Trump over Joe Biden. So, even the Bernie supporters, even Bernie Sanders supporters know Joe is not fit to be the president of the United States. And so that's why I think we're going to see a Trump 2020 landslide this November.
Yeah, when Bernie people and Trump people can agree on something, it's probably going to be true. I don't know if you saw this week, but declassified documents actually showed that when Osama bin Laden was still alive, he wanted to try to assassinate Obama so that they would put Joe Biden in the White House. And basically his idea was that his incompetent leadership would basically destroy the country. What do you think of this? How blind are these people? Like, are they being disingenuous? Like, are they just hiding it? Or are they just so dumb that they can't see that Joe Biden doesn't know what the hell he's doing? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Even are the enemies of the United States want Joe Biden to become president?
Yeah. China, they want China Joe in office. He's going to give his sweetheart deals. He's going to bow to the Chinese like a Barack Obama and Joe Biden did in their 8 years. And I mean, it's horrible. All the countries, they want him. Our enemies, they want Joe Biden because he is lost his mind. He is like going to be a horrible president. He's going to destroy America. And so that makes sense. But, people who support him, I don't know if it's, like you said, either blinded, which could be blinded by hate for the president.
Right.
A lot of people, they have Trump derangement syndrome. I see it all the time. They are blinded with hate. And then also, some people are just stupid. There's some people out there that support crazy, crazy ideas. They want to open the borders. They want more regulations that are going to destroy businesses. They want higher taxes, which is not good for any American. Nobody wants to pay more in taxes. They support these ideas, gun control and all these different things. I think it's just stupidity. They don't realize how important the Second Amendment is. And they don't realize that we need lower taxes, less regulation. They're just dumb, frankly. If they looked more into politics and they looked more into how lower taxes, less regulations actually help the economy and et cetera, things like that, they would vote Trump. They would vote Republican. They're either not smart or they're just blinded with hate. So either way, I think it is both. There's a lot of Bernie supporters out there. There's a lot of Joe Biden supporters out there, and I don't see it. I don't see how they're actually, they actually could have supported and still support Biden right now, who is most likely to be the nominee. I just can't see them supporting him. It's just crazy.
It's crazy the levels that they'll actually stoop to defend Biden, right? Because they always call the Trump supporters were cultists. We follow Trump like a cult. But I mean, you have for example, the Tara Reade, the sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden. I don't know if that's true or not, but what I do know is that people like Alyssa Milano, and remember her at the Kavanaugh hearing, she went freaking crazy saying, believe all women, survivors have a right to be believed. She openly tweeted that she doesn't believe Tara Reade's sexual assault allegations and she's still going to support Biden no matter what. I mean, what do you think of this? Why have the Democrats just totally accepted the believe all woman thing for whenever it applies to Republican, but suddenly their candidate has sexual assault accused against him, and suddenly it's we actually believe evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really, really hypocritical. It's crazy that they're going to be going out there, and I agree with you. It's not very, very credible of an allegation. But just to go out there, Joe Biden and all these Democrats to go out and say, believe all women, believe every single woman who comes out with a sexual assault allegation or something like that, believe them all, no matter what. And now that it's against Joe Biden, you see the media, you see the Democrats, you see pretty much everyone on the left, besides a couple people that are Bernie supporters, they're not even going to condemn Joe Biden. They're not going to talk about it. They, it took forever for the media to even run one story on it. It's crazy. They do not go by their own standards. There's a different standard for them. There's a different standard for the left. And it's crazy. I look at it like it's just the most insane thing. And I hope people can open their eyes and see the hypocrisy. It's real. It's there. And we can see it every single day.
Absolutely. All right, Caleb, thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you. Nice tattoos, by the way. This guy has the Constitution.
Oh, wrong one. There we go.
Tattooed on his arm. Nice tattoos. All right, Caleb, thanks for coming on.
Of the greatest document ever written, besides the Bible. But yeah, this is great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
God help us all, am I right? Imagine if he were president. God help us all. Well, this week was Earth Week, so I wanted to get a climate change advocate on here actually to debate for the final segment. But man, it was impossible to find anyone. It was I hit up someone who runs a chapter of the Youth Climate Strike in Arizona, and they literally told me, no, because I am an activist for Youth Climate Strike, I'm not legally allowed to debate. And I was like, what? You run a chapter for an organization about climate change, and you can't debate about climate. You can't come on to a show and debate about climate change. I don't know if that was like a real excuse. Hey, I'm not going to call them out by name or anything, but my point is, my gosh, it was ridiculously hard to find one person to debate, but we do have someone that we're pretty sure we're going to get for next week. So next week, you guys can look forward to that. It's going to be a great debate. I know you guys really want to see that. I know you guys come here for the debates. Okay. Those are that's the real meat or whatever we want to call it. Okay. But that'll pretty much wrap up today's show. I'm going to do a quick Q&A right now. So if you guys have any questions, we have about 7-8 minutes left so we can keep going on this. If you guys have any questions, I'm sure you guys dropped a few in this chat. leave them and I'll talk about them, or just funny comments like this one. Hold up, let me change the banner so that it's like you can see it. Okay. Where is it? Comments. Here we go. Here we go. Star Wars quote. Okay. Now, I've watched a lot of Star Wars during this quarantine, so I have opinions on it. Let me tell you something. I don't know where I stand in the Star Wars universe, but I don't think this Yoda quote is accurate. Okay? Like, let's be real. Fear is a natural human emotion. Anger is a natural human emotion. Now, hate, that's true. If you hold hate in your heart, I mean, you probably won't be a happy person if you hold long-term hate in your heart. But I don't think fear and anger always lead to hate. I think you have to control it, right? And I think a true Force user controls their light and dark side in balance, not totally ignores the light, not totally ignores the dark. I think it's all about balance. You have to know how to control your fear, control your anger, and you can actually use those things for good. Do I like Star Wars? Yeah, I like Star Wars. Is it my favorite movie trilogy? Maybe. I don't know if it's my favorite necessarily, but I really, really like Star Wars, and I'm kind of a nerd for it sometimes. What is the best way you think that teenagers to get interested in talking about politics? Well, I mean, it's hard. It's like you have to like it or you don't. Like, teenagers aren't really into stuff like politics or history or news, right? They just want to live their lives. I think the best way is sort of to explain how politics affects them and helps them. Okay. But the negative side of that is Bernie Sanders, right? Bernie Sanders was great at getting teenagers actually interested in talking about politics because he sold something that they wanted. But I think we have to sort of explain to young people in a cool, fashionable way how politics actually affects them. Your Star Wars opinions are crap. Okay, this is coming from a person, by the way, just to give context to Grace Walter. She thinks that the prequels are better than the originals. How can you say blasphemy like that? Like, if you want to say the prequels are better than the sequels, go ahead. But the original Star Wars movies are unbeatable, minus Return of the Jedi. Okay, but Empire and A New Hope, no Star Wars movies come close to that. Okay, like you cannot sit here and say that the crappy acting, and especially Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace, that somehow beats Empire and A New Hope. That's just not the Star Wars queen, not whatsoever. And you are welcome. You are welcome for that response. I have a lot of political opinions regarding Star Wars, actually. Pretty interesting. Ironic? Yep. What I don't understand is that liberals want to go back to work too. I'm confused. I think a lot of like ordinary people want to go back to work. This is why I use the word Democrats, and I opened my segment with Democrats in Washington, because I think a lot of ordinary people want to go back to work. Also, ordinary people are sort of fearful about catching the virus, and that's a legitimate fear, but I think people want to go back to work in a reasonable way where they can stay safe. I don't think this total lockdown thing is really like what a lot of people want right now. China lied, people died. True statement. Love this hashtag. I think Benny Johnson or Alex the Lord came up with it. By the way, Alex the Lord, banned from Twitter. Terrible. We need to get him back. Okay, let's start an army to get him back. China starves their people. It's been proven time and time again, and everyone believes they care about their people. Pathetic. I don't think people actually believe that. Well, okay, I do know some people that believe that China is like this great country, okay? But I think generally speaking, it's more that these people that run these corporations just want, they want to work in China. They want to operate in China, and so they will shill for the Chinese government, because that's what you got to do. You got to kiss their ass in order to succeed in China. Have a good one. Thank you, Machuch. Beto thinks that farmers are just on a plantation. Yep, Beto's I see a lot of ignorance, frankly. I love how Beta thinks farmers are just a bunch of immigrants. Yeah, that's exactly right. And first of all, the myth that, all the immigrants illegal immigrants pick our fruit. Not true. Actually, most of our fruit's picked by machines. But also, I know a lot of farmers who are native born and hire native born workers. So to pretend that we need these immigrants, both legal and illegal, just to work the farms, not true. Not saying that, not saying we should ban all the immigrants from coming into the country, but in a time like this, it's a reasonable measure to say we need to protect our native born workforce. All right, let me see any new comments. I guess she likes, Yeah, you can like, but that's not what makes a movie a good movie. Like I watched the prequels and I laughed too, especially at the quotes that have turned into memes. I'm like, haha. And then you get to look back at, oh, that's why it became the meme. The acting is so bad. But I am not wrong at all. The acting in the prequels are terrible. The story is not well done. Like the comics made it into a cool story, like the backstory and all that. But if you just watch the movies on their own, the story is not really compelling. The characters are not compelling. It's just not, the prequel trilogy is not good. Yes, I am right. You know I am right. China got concentration camps for minorities. True statement. Anyone else have questions? Let me see here. AOC's been drinking. Look, I'm not going to comment on that, but maybe. I don't know. The governor. Who is this? Thank you. I know I'm a very attractive person. All right. I think that's all the questions. In case you guys don't have anything. Nope, nothing about the prequels is perfect. In fact, even Revenge of the Sith, which is by far the best prequel, watched it back. I liked it as a kid. Not actually the best movie. Okay. The acting. Oh yeah, the acting is supposed to be bad. I'm sure. It's just bad acting. Such a great thing. Yet no. Okay. Anyways, that'll basically wrap it up here for today, unless you guys don't have any other more questions or comments I can highlight. But yeah, we're almost at 60 minutes on the dot. So this was like perfect timing. I turned this out perfectly. Thank you guys all for tuning into this broadcast. I think we did well enough where we can do this again weekly, but make sure you guys are tune in next week. Hopefully we'll do it same time, same place, Friday, 8:30 Eastern time. Make sure you guys tune in. I think I'm going to make this into a weekly show. I think the pilot did well enough. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Those of you who are still on the stream, you guys are the real ones. See you guys next time. Peace. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Goodbye, America.